Evening. We want to welcome you to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. And I tell you, we are so excited for this evening's episode. We've just been sitting here with great anticipation for the move of God on this evening. That lives will be changed, delivered, and set free. That families will be strengthened and encouraged. That the blended family would complete and perform and do all that they've been designed to do in this earth realm. And we just thank you for tuning in to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. I tell you, it's just been so awesome. Each and every broadcast, each and every episode has just been just marvelous. I tell you, like every time we sit down and we think of what we're going to talk about, and then we sit before you guys, it's just another realm, another level. And I'm excited. Bubbling over. What do you feel, babe?
Same thing you feel.
See, did you ever know that when you want your wife to talk, she ain't got nothing to say? But then you don't want her to talk, she got everything to say?
I feel the same way.
No, so we were excited. And we're going to jump right in. I want to thank you all for tuning in last week. Yes. In my absence. I was on a ministry assignment, and so my wife and my daughter, they did an awesome job on last Tuesday evening sharing the broadcast. So I want to give a shout out to Shay Clark for sitting in for us, for me, and making sure that we continue to impact families through this ministry gift. And so I want to thank you guys for everybody that tuned in, those that shared the broadcast. Thank you for the hundreds and hundreds of views, the sharing that you guys have been doing, just blessing us, blessing our hearts tremendously. Sweetheart, let's give a recap of the last week's episode.
Okay, last week, Shay and I talked about challenges that arise in the blended family. But actually, that's what we started with week before. We touched on fights between the children, sibling rivalry. We talked about argument among spouses and ex-spouses, misunderstandings, miscommunication or no communication, acting out and misbehaving, change in attitudes, and decline in performance. And Shadeva gave, some of her instances and situations that she had with acting out and misbehaving and a change in attitude and decline in her performance on last week.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of that, and we'll talk about a little bit of that on later. Hey, Kevin, my man Kevin Price, he just tuned in. Love you, man. Just hollered at him on today while I was at work, and so it's a blessing when you see people that watch the broadcast and that tune in the episodes, and you see them live and in living color, and they just share with you how blessed they are because of what you're sharing through the Facebook Live. And so just want to give a shout out to Kevin. But last week broadcast episode was awesome. I mean, it was off the hook. You guys really came through. I love even what Shadeva was sharing, even how it seemed as if some of the things she did was off course and it didn't line up with what should have been done. But one thing that I picked up was a lot of things that she did ultimately was a part of the prophecy God gave her years before. And so her going into the Navy was a part of God telling her she was going to travel and see the world. And I wanted to share that because sometimes we do things not knowing how it's really lining divinely with the destiny and plan that God has set for us. And it seems as if things aren't going the way we want. And it seems as if we're just doing something arbitrarily, not knowing that he's orchestrating he's all behind the scenes, orchestrating us to get us to the place to do what he's ultimately want us to do in life. And so I laughed when she talked about that. But again, we talked about, they shared on last week. The last 2 weeks we've been talking about this, talking about family stability, talked about building a strong marital bond. And that's one thing that we love, we really believe in, is building that marital bond. I'm a gentleman, a husband that I don't like spending a lot of time away from my wife. And I know people, some people say they need space and they say they need this, they need that. I do. I need my wife. That's what I need. And so that is my space. And so I thank God for just that love that, we kicked it off when we first met, but when we first came together as friends. We've been inseparable ever since. I took her bowling and I ain't been able to get rid of her since. So
no, I can't get rid of you. Following me around, stuck up under me all the time.
That is not the truth. That is not the way. Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah, that's the truth. But it's just a blessing, that marital bond. Also, we talked about therapists. That wasn't last week. The week before last, we talked about therapists, and because this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and how important it is to really seek counsel, seek guidance as it relates to your mental health, your mental strength, because this is a work, this is a labor, and so we labor to enter into rest, and so to get to that rest, we have to make sure that we're strong mentally. There are a lot of challenges that face us, not only as a married couple, but as a blended family. There's a lot of challenges that face us. And even you that's watching us, you're having different challenges. And one of the things that I find out is that people are not taking the opportunity to get strengthened. They're not taking the opportunity to seek counsel and guidance and wisdom. And sometimes even therapy. And let me say this, therapy is not a bad word. When your back is hurting, you go get therapy. When you have aches in your body, you go get therapy. You don't look at that in a negative connotation, but when we talk about the mental aspect of it, it's always a negative connotation attached to it. So we want to dispel that disnomer right now, that there's nothing negative about mental health. That's just what it is. It's mental and it's health. And so we want to make sure that you're strong even in your thinking, because as a man thinketh, so is he. And so we want to make sure that your thoughts are right concerning your family, concerning your marriage, concerning your children, concerning this blended family, so that we can show the world what God's intent for us really was. God so loved the world that what? He gave his only begotten son, that whomsoever believe in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. And so that's a blended family. And so all we are is an extension of the divine purpose and plan and will of God. And so let's pick up from where we left off on last week.
We would be on parent defending behavior of the children.
Let's go back to acting out.
Acting out and misbehaving. Yeah. We discussed acting out and misbehaving, changing attitude. In blended families, you will find that the children would act out for many different reasons. At times, they feel like they're divided, not getting the same treatment, the same love, the same attention, etc. There are times when you may see a family member that used to smile or be happy all the time, and now they're demonstrating unhappiness, frustration, depression. And then unfortunately, the blended parent that came into the family is normally the one that they tend to take those frustrations out on, or their reason for acting out.
And so it's important to keep the lines of communication open. It's important to have, just communicate. The only way that we can handle this situation right here is that we talk, that we communicate, that we develop a relationship. One of the things that I learned later on in our blended family was the art of communication with my daughters. And so now it's not an issue at all where we can pick up the phone. I can pick up the phone and call them, or they can pick up the phone and call me, and we discuss any number of topics regarding our lives and our family lives, and just, our visions, where we want to go, what we want to be doing, what we need to be doing to be successful, relationships, things of that nature. We talk about a host of things, but it's something that we want to encourage you guys to work on now. If it's something that you're not doing right now, make sure that you're communicating. Right. Make sure that you take a vested interest in each other. Parents, take a vested interest in each and every child. Make sure that you're part of their lives. One of my daughters, the youngest one, Shire, I always say she should be in the WNBA. She heard that from her mother. Her mother, she might don't look like she a baller now, but she used to be a baller back in the day.
She don't look like a baller. What you talking about?
A long,
point
long
guard,
time
baby.
ago.
Point
Yeah.
guard.
She used to be a baller, and so my daughter Shire, she picked that up. And one of the areas that I failed early on in is I didn't, as a parent, I didn't take a vested interest in that. And so when there were times when she was playing basketball and was getting ready to start doing tournaments and things of that nature, I was busy doing other things. And instead of prioritizing her and making her feel worthy of my attention and my affection, I placed other things above her. And so I'm sharing that so that I can hopefully and prayerfully stop who's ever doing that with their children.
Correct.
Because this is important. You know what I'm saying? Children are like, the Bible said that children are like arrows in the hands of a parent. You know, and we direct them and point them and shoot them in a direction where they to go. And so I failed as a parent at that particular time in directing her and shooting her into her destiny. And so I want to make sure, you know, even through my good things, my successes, as well as my failures, to assist you to make sure that you make the right and proper decisions so that you don't go through some of the things that we went through, and that your family can ultimately benefit to a greater level and dimension than what we did at that particular time, and you can experience what we're experiencing now. Yeah. And so you want to make sure that you place a vested interest into your children as well as the family. What else, we?
Decline in performance. The tension that arises in blended family affects the parent, the children, even outside of the home. At times you will see that a discipline in the child, performance in school will go down. Parents sometimes show decline in their performance at work.
No, let me I remember times going up to my daughter's school, and the stories the teachers would tell me that she was doing, the things that she was doing, but it was a cry for attention.
You're talking about the youngest.
Yes, it was a cry for attention. And she just needed that attention. She needed that love. She needed to know that I cared. She needed to know that I loved her, that she was a part of the family. I mean, it is so hilarious when we think back on what we dealt with, some of the things that we dealt with. I mean, you wouldn't believe some of the stories that the teachers was telling me that she was doing. But it was also a cry for affection.
Right.
It was a cry for attention. And another thing I wanted to share, and because you guys hear me talk about the relationship that I have with their father, their natural father, and I never wanted to come into this to replace him. But one of the areas I failed in, I remember her asking me to adopt her. Mm-hmm. And I didn't adopt her because I felt like at that particular time, if I did that, I would push him out of the picture. And so I should have really sat down with my family and talked about it. I should have sat down with him and talked about it and see how we can make that work to ultimately save our children. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't about me at all. It was all about her. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know that. I didn't have the proper knowledge, the proper understanding, because the only thing you get to keep is what you understand. Yep. And so I wasn't keeping her because I had no understanding. And so I also had to go through some things with her because of that lack of understanding. Mm-hmm. When if I would have just allowed myself to open up to the idea of adopting her, open up, because that's what she was doing. She was just crying out for love. She wanted to feel like she was a part. She was wanted. Mm-hmm. And so it's important. I remember hearing a gentleman talk about his son, and, you know, he kept referring to him as stepson. Well, understand, if you keep throwing that out there, then that's what they're going to feel like. They're going to feel like they're stepped. Right. And ultimately, you don't want that child to feel like they're stepped. You want that child to feel like they're a child. Correct. And so we share this with you guys. We share what we've gone through, what we're going through, so that this can be a blessing to you, that you can take these things and you can understand, I don't have to go through the same turmoils or the same up and downs that they went through. Mm-hmm. I can listen to some of the strategies that they give me, and I can adjust my life and my family accordingly so that I could be the beneficiary of the promised life. And so, give me some more of that, sweet. I like that.
Same one?
Yes.
That was it.
Okay, what's the next
Points
one?
on that one. Parent defending behavior of the children. You'll find that at times the parent will defend the behavior of their children, which will cause issues in that home, in that blended family. You'll find that they will make excuses for their children's behavior. You'll also find that the absent parent can be uncaring of the attitude or the behavior of the children that's demonstrated because they're no longer in that marriage and they're still hurt from the divorce or the separation that they had. So they don't really care about how the children act. And in fact, some of them is like, oh, okay, I'm glad they acting like that.
Let me tell you something. We could talk about this one all night long. There were some things that we experienced, you know what I'm saying, as, you know, early on with behaviors and this natural tendency to defend. My wife is a defender. You know, she like the animal kingdom. If you mess with her cubs, boy, she gonna come out. And so, yes, indeed. And so there were times when she was defending stuff, and I'm like, baby, no, you need to stop and just look at this. It is not what you think. And you hear her laughing, right?
I wasn't all the way delivered then.
Yes.
I was saved, but I wasn't delivered from everything.
No,
then.
Indeed. This girl
that was 20 years ago.
Whatever. This girl was defending stuff that the natural man was like, that ain't right. And so...
no, it wasn't that bad.
Yes, it was. And so, you know...
Okay, but it had been just me and them. I had to defend them. I had to protect my children.
See,
it was just me and them.
But, you know, it's important that you sit back and you assess the situation. One of the things that I learned early on, and this something that my mother taught me, was to assess the situation. Because there are a lot of different things that come that present itself. And you got to get down to what they used to call back in the day the nitty gritty. Yes. And so what I would do when we first got together, when we first got married, I would get down to the nitty gritty. I wouldn't care what they told me. I wouldn't care what anybody told me. I'd take all parts. One of the things I wanted to be when I was a preteen was a lawyer. So I'm extremely good at taking all parts of a situation and assessing it. And sometimes I'll make you think I'm not getting it, or I'll make you think I don't really have an understanding. But all along, I'm putting these pieces together. And so I would sit back and I would sit with my wife and I'd say, baby, you know, what this one's saying, it doesn't make sense. And what this one's saying, that doesn't make sense. And what this one did is not adding up. And at that particular time, she really couldn't see it because, you know, them are babies. And so her ultimate goal was, you know, they already off because you done came in, you done shook this system, you done shook this foundation, and you done changed things up. And now you saying that they doing wrong stuff too? She know, boy. And so that was a trying time. It was a trying time, but, you know, love conquers all.
Yeah.
And, you know, nothing that I ever shared with her was ever anything of malice or evil intentions. It was always to bring clarity and insight to what was going on.
But during that time, at first, though, I didn't want to hear it. I didn't care what she was saying. I didn't want to hear it.
I'm talking to teachers, and the teachers telling me what's going on, and she looking at me like the teachers lying. I'm like, sweetheart, the teachers are not lying.
I ain't say that though. I might just had to look, but I wouldn't say
exactly. That's what I said. She was looking at me like the teachers were lying.
Goodness.
And so there were some things that, I mean, it just was hilarious. But, you know, we worked through that. Always listen. You know what I'm saying? If the children start acting up, there's a reason. If they start doing things out of the norm, there's a reason. Children don't just ultimately do things just to be doing it. They always have a reason, a rhyme and a reason behind what it is that they do. And so I was an investigator, man. I want to know why it is that they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, but during that time, they was doing what they was doing because of you.
That's fine. It
you
didn't matter.
Came in.
That's
why. That's why I was protecting them and taking them.
It didn't matter because the ultimate goal was for me to know that. I wanted to know. Yeah, okay. You was excusing.
At that time, yep.
It's a difference.
Yep.
And so
But
I
looking
wanted
back,
to
yeah,
know, because what it
exactly.
did was it helped me to understand them.
Mm-hmm.
It not only helped me to understand them, but it ultimately helped me to understand myself, understand where I needed to work on, what I needed to fix, and what I needed to. There were some things I needed to get rid of. There were some things that I needed to stop doing. There were some things that I need to start doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very territorial, especially with my wife. And so because I was so very territorial, that was a problem. It posed a problem because it made them feel like outsiders. And
Right.
because I made them feel like outsiders, ultimately I started experiencing things that I shouldn't experience.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest daughter, she was skipping school. My middle daughter, she was on some other stuff. She's slick.
That's bad.
Shay is slick. That's what Shay means. Shay means slick in Greek. She was slick, and then Shia, she wanted my attention, and she wanted my affection, and so, but it helped me to understand that.
Right.
It helped me to really look at things and see where I needed to improve upon. And so, like we said, you can't defend behaviors.
Right.
Get to the bottom of the behavior.
Right.
Once you get to the bottom of the behavior, then you can help make adjustments concerning the behavior. And once we got to the bottom of the behaviors, man, it was easy to make adjustments. It was easy to put things in place because we also wanted our family to be a success.
Correct.
We also wanted our family to be all that they were designed to be. And so we started making those necessary changes and adjustments in order to get what we got now. And so we just wanted to share that with you guys.
Yeah, through trial and error.
A lot of error, a lot of trial. And, and also we dealt with also too the other parent not wanting to step up at times and to do things to assist. And so, and that's why it's, you guys hear me talk about it. It's so important for me, and was so important for me, especially early on, to make my girl's father feel like family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Anybody that ever seen us interact and engage each other are amazed at how we interact and engage. I was telling a buddy of mine the other day, I remember a time we were in Hyattsville and we were going to the Olive Garden.
Oh, yeah.
And it was my wife, myself, another couple, and it was the girl's dad. He was leaving out of the restaurant with his friend. And so he didn't see my wife. She walked in, but I saw him when he came out. And so when I saw him when he came out, I gave him a big hug and I squeezed him real tight, and we just hugged each other and exchanged some words. And so I heard the young lady when I walked off, she said, "Who is that?" And he said, "Oh, that's my daughter's father." And so she looked like, "What? What was that about? Who does that?" I do that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's important for me that we have a lasting relationship so that we don't deal with those things, because we know many people who their exes or their parents, their children's other parent or natural parent don't want to be a part.
Right.
They don't want to participate. They don't want to help discipline. They don't want to help instruct. They often want to see things in a chaotic state because it makes them feel good that they're really no longer in that relationship.
Right.
And so it's important, man, to reach out, to make sure that you guys keep a good relationship if at possible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, let me say this, sometimes it's not possible. The Bible says, if at all possible, be at peace with all men. Some people you just can't be because they don't want to be.
Right.
But those that do, make sure that you do. Make sure that you continue to go the extra mile, that you continue to do whatever's in your power to keep peace in that relationship. Because at the end of the day, it's never really about you anyway. It's always about that child.
That's right. And then even as they get older, then they're going to have children. So you're always going to, in a sense, be a part. They're going to be a part some kind of way. Because not only are there going to be children, then there's going to be grandchildren and so on and so on. So there's going to be times where you always have to be in the same place at the same time.
One of my pastors, Dr. Mike Freeman, one of his favorite sayings is more is caught than taught. And so it's important in what I've displayed in parenthood. My daughters now use it. You know what I'm saying? They use it as they communicate because I've shown them how to in spite of if you're with the person, if you're not with the person, how you need to relate with them.
Correct.
I showed them how to have conflict without conflict, because you can have discussions or disagreements without belittling each other, without trying to put each other down. You can always express yourself without trying to make the other one feel unworthy or whatever. And so it's important, man, to understand that how you handle this ultimately determines how they'll handle that.
Yep.
And so what's the last point, sweetheart?
Past baggage. At times, there's a lot of emotion and psychological baggage that people bring into the new marriage from their previous marriages or relationships, and they tend to project it into the new marriage, which can cause the relationship to start off with unwanted stress. It's possible that they don't even realize, though, that they are not healed from the past hurt or past pain in their divorce until something happens in that new marriage that kind of either remind them of that, or until a situation happened and they realize they haven't gotten past all of the pain from their previous relationship.
Exactly. I'm going to talk a little bit about my wife, but I'm going to talk about myself first. Can I do that?
Yeah, talk about you first.
Talk about me first.
Thank you. Because by the time you get ready to talk about me,
It'll
it's going to be over with.
Exactly.
Woo, go ahead.
No, but one of the things that I struggled with early on was the fact that when my son's mother and I, when we split and divorced, there was so much transition that she was in. I didn't see my son for after he was 1 year old. I didn't see him again till he was 10. And so because of that, I harbored a lot of hurt. I harbored a lot of pain and a lot of frustration. And I wouldn't allow myself to love another child the way I should, the way that I could. And ultimately, my daughters, they suffered because of my hurt, because of my pain, my past baggage. And a lot of people, I find out, they don't want to be honest with things. They don't want to talk about it. It's public record. There's a divorce decree, all that good stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's public record. I'm not sharing anything that isn't known, and I really don't care who knows it, because it's my story, and I have the right and the ability to share my story. And so, because of the hurt that I went through as a parent, because there were times when I didn't know where my son was. One moment he was here, then the next moment they were gone. And by the time I catch up with him, there was a couple of years gone by, and then the same thing happened again. And so there were a lot of things going on where by the times when I thought I can move and get in touch with them, they were transitioning again. And so because of that lack of a relationship, I harbored a lot of hurt. I had Louis Vuitton baggage. I had expensive baggage. I mean, I had Gucci baggage. I had that serious baggage. And I brought that into my marriage. I brought that into my relationship, my blended family. And my family suffered in the early years because of that baggage. And so we want to make sure that you guys are dealing with that baggage, man. Unpack that stuff. Not only unpack it, but then throw the luggage away. I don't care how expensive it is. I don't care what kind of attachments you have to it. Throw it away. You know what I'm saying? You got some pictures of it. You know how it looked, but that don't mean you got to keep it. And so I didn't know how to get rid of it. I didn't know. Matter of fact, I didn't even want to let it go, because I was using that fuel. I was using it as fuel in other areas of my life to keep me going. And so, but my family suffered. My children suffered. My wife suffered. And so we sharing this to let you guys know that, listen, get rid of that old past baggage.
Right. Seek counseling.
Seek counseling. You know what I mean? And, ultimately, Holy Spirit was my counselor, because he is a counselor. And I didn't have individuals that I can go to that were more spiritual, that can sit me down and instruct me, that can help guide me. I didn't have that, at that particular time. Thank God I'm in the ministry that I'm in now, where I have a man and a woman of God that loves me and that cares about me. and that's there to be able to sit down and nurture me.
And have things set up in the ministry.
And have things that's set up, you know what I'm saying, where I don't necessarily have to meet with them, but we have an awesome marriage ministry. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We have an awesome marriage counseling team that are very highly qualified individuals that can sit down and walk you step by step out of whatever you're dealing with. Right. And so I didn't have that element and aspect in my life at that particular time. And it took a lot of prayer. It took a lot of fasting, a lot of consecration, because I'm a winner. And everything that I do, I win. And even when it seems like I'm not winning, I still win. Correct. Because in the end, I win. And I was ultimately going to win regardless of what I was dealing with, what I was facing. But that baggage I knew I could no longer carry around. And so we want to encourage you guys, make sure you give it that baggage.
Right. And seek to have a relationship with God if you don't have one. Because that is what's going to carry you over. Having that relationship with Holy Spirit.
You want me to say something?
No.
Okay.
That's what I have to say.
No, but you're right. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you don't know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, get to know him. Get to know him.
Yeah.
You know, he died that you might live. And so we want to encourage you to get to know him, to accept him as Lord and Savior over your life. That's what ultimately brought me through a lot of you know, my friends on Facebook that watch this broadcast. They know the old Brandon.
Right.
They remember the old me, and they can attest to the power and the glory of God as it relates to who this new creature in God is. Mm-hmm. Old things being passed away, and behold, all things have become new. And so that was all I had to rely on, to depend on, to help me deal with that baggage, right. To help me deal with those things that I was struggling with, in order that my family may be all that it was designed to be from the foundations of this world. And so, you know, we're just excited. Oh, man. See, she knew I was going to talk and be out that time. I can't get on her. But I'm going to pick this up another time because I do want to talk about it. No, I don't want to talk about it. You know, but we thank you guys. Again, we're so excited for this In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. We're talking about challenges that arise in a blended family. And we pray that this has been a blessing to you all that have viewed us. We pray that this has been insightful, impactful, that you can take this information, not only apply it to your lives, but share it with your family and friends and those that you know that are a blended family. Make sure that they go, you know, to our web page, our Facebook page, our web page. They go to our Facebook page and that they view the previous broadcast. Yes. Because they're all there, uploaded to be seen. And I tell you, it's just been a phenomenal trip that we've been on with this In the Blender episode that we've been having over the last couple of months. And I tell you, it's just getting better and better. There's a lot of exciting things that's on the horizon as it relates to In the Blender. If you have any questions, any concerns, any comments, if you want some things you want us to discuss or attack in our upcoming episodes, how do they reach us, baby?
They can email us at weareablendedfamily@gmail.com.
Say that again.
weareablendedfamily@gmail.com.
I tell you, it's just been so exciting. We thank you all. I got Van, I got Kana. I love you guys.
People.
Everybody that's up here. I can't even go down the list. Donnell and
Donnell.
You keep
naming. I was trying, but for those that we didn't call out, we saw you on there.
Exactly. Elaine, my cousin Elaine down in Florida. Awesome woman of God. And we just thank you guys for just tuning in to us. So we love you. We thank you. Again, thank you for tuning in to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman.
And remember to share.
Remember to share and remember to tune in every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. We love you. God bless.
Love you. Bye, guys.